Give yourselves a pat on the back. You've made it. We're at the final lesson. You're finishing off your story today. We're going to be at the cliffhanger. It's going to end. All of your hard work coming to now. So, stick with me for the next however long this video goes on for. Put in maximum effort today, knowing that you're going to be done, and then you can look back over your work and be really proud of what you've achieved. So, let's get into it. So today, by the end of the day, you will have written the climax to your story. That is the end. The climax is the main event. We are there. What am I looking for? Well, you're going to continue to build tension and increase the intensity of it. What do I mean by intensity? I mean it's going to ramp it up a gear. Now, you've been building that tension. You've been making it more serious. Today, we're going to go for the top. Going to end your story on a cliffhanger. You can do it with a little ... at the end, which is called an ellipsis, but you don't have to. I didn't in mine, and it was fine. You're going to try and maintain that suspense. Now, this is really important. You get to the end, and the danger's going to appear. It might be you've got a character in mind that is the evil character, or maybe you've got a certain person that's going to appear, or a spirit, or something like that. And it's really tempting to suddenly put in loads of action. They appeared and then they stabbed me, or, they appeared and then they shot me, or they abducted me, or they threw something at me. By doing that, you can completely ruin the suspense. Remember, this is suspense, not horror. Not action. Suspense. Suspense is where something kind of weird, you want to think it kind of weird happens, and it seems quite scary. So, if you think about my story, which I'm going to remind you of in a second, all that the woman does is tap him on the shoulder. Innocent enough, you'd think. There's nothing really wrong with that. If someone tapped you on the shoulder, you'd be like, oh, okay, fair enough. But it's really menacing because we have the tap, tap, tap. But there's certainly she didn't turn up and smack him over the head with a pole, or drown him or something like that. It's fairly normal. So far, you've done all of that. Look at all you have achieved. In fact, pause the video for a second and go and have a look back at all the writing you've done. I'm not asking you to do the whisper reading thing. I just want you to look back and be proud of what you've actually done. Look at how many pages you've written. Some of you, it's loads, and that's great. It's lovely. As this is the final lesson, I'm just going to take the opportunity as well to remind you, please, you must bring this in when we come back to school, which we now know will be on the 8th of March. If you can't print it off, send it by email to me, germany@gilesjm.hearts.sch.uk, and I will print it for you. But please, it must be in. We will use this as a piece of evidence of your writing, which is going to be really important as we move towards the end of the year. We still have to be able to say where you are and what you can do and what you can't do, ready for you moving on. Okay, so the example of my climax is here. I'm just going to read it to you to refresh your brains. So, Chapter 7, Reflection in the Water. A smell of damp and decay hit Callum's nostrils as he entered the bathroom. He choked slightly at the stench of it. As he had grown to expect from the rest of the school, the bathroom looked like it had been abandoned for a few decades rather than a few years. The small windows that separated the far wall from the ceiling were boarded up with the odd hole letting tendrils of light in. From where he stood, Callum could make out sinks lining the walls to his left and right, each with a mirror above. Up against the far wall were the cubicles, each with their door either hanging off or missing entirely. The first sink immediately to his left seemed to be the source of the running tap. He moved towards it and twisted it, first to the left, and then to the right. No matter how hard he twisted, it would not budge. He looked up and caught his reflection in the mirror. His eyes looked bloodshot, and his skin looked very pale. So what have I done in that first paragraph? I've had my character enter the room, so your character's going to enter their room. I've described the room. That's the first job. Drip. Behind him, another tap dripped. He snapped around. The sink immediately in front of Callum released a small drop of water every few seconds. Drip. Drip. To his left, yet another one. Drip. 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 This one in the far corner on the opposite wall, his heart hammered in his chest. This was beyond his ability to reason now. He turned, about to bolt from the room until he heard it. Tap. 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 3 of them, like a knocking against wood. Callum retreated backwards, not knowing where he was going. His mind was on the door, but panic was taking over. His legs hit the sink and his hands grabbed on for support. His eyes darted around, but it was as if the darkness had suddenly thrown a curtain over the room. Tap, tap, tap. Hopefully you can hear there from my reading that I'm picking up the pace. So what's happened? Well, something strange has happened in the room, linked back to the rumour story. I've then shown you that my character is nervous. How have I done that? His heart hammered in his chest. He was about to run away. Then it happens again, and this time it's more strange. So what have I done next? I've shown you my character is really scared now. Tap, tap, tap. From behind him, from the mirror above the sink, he turned slowly and nearly fainted at what he saw. The mirror above the sink did not just show Callum. To his left was a figure, a woman with water pouring from her mouth. Her clothes looked old and she had ropes tied around her wrists. She didn't move other than to tap her leg. Tap, tap, tap. He could not move. Tap, tap, tap. She reached out a hand and placed it on his shoulder. Tap. What have I done there? I've finally revealed the person, the evil person, whoever it might be in your story. They've done something to my character. Have I given lots of description about them? No, because I want to leave that to your imagination. You want your reader to have to think about it. And also, we need to keep this part of it quick. Can you imagine how gutted you would be if I'd built up all this tension? You want to know what's going to happen? You really want to know what's going to happen? And now I'm going to spend 2 paragraphs describing the character. Kills the pace. Completely kills the pace. No pun intended. You need to keep it quick. You need to do some description so that they have a rough idea of what they look like and who they are, but not much. Otherwise you're going to ruin your story right at the last hurdle. Okay, so the first part we're going to do is the smell of damp and decay. So the first thing that happens is the character enters the part of the setting where the main event will happen. So you need to know now, where is your main event going to happen? What room is it in? And you should have planned that. So if you're not sure, look back at your plans. You need to describe it. Couple of sentences. Okay, but we're going to do a little bit of planning on that. So the room where the main event is going to happen, picture that in your head. Is it a classroom? Is it a random room? Is it a forest? Is it a building of some kind? I don't know because I don't know your stories. Is it a ward on a hospital? Okay, right. We're not going to plan that. So, same as before, you're going to have a go at putting some words in to describe it. Then you've got what you can see. Similarly, how does the room affect your character? What can you smell? What can you hear? Now, I'm not going to put this on Seesaw today because I just want you to focus on finishing off your story. I want you to spend as much time in that as possible. So I'm just going to talk you through some examples that you could use, and please feel free to steal some of them for your writing. Okay, so let's have a look at. So the room, I'm going to go for a. I'm just going to go for sort of a generic room because then hopefully that will apply and most of you can take something from it. So I'm going to start with words. So we could use cold. We could use. What else could we use? We could use Like dusty. I think dusty would work. Decay. That's quite a nice word. We could use. This is normally the part in the lesson where I'll be going, right, come on guys, give me some ideas, because I can't think of all of them. We could use, as you can tell, I just do these lessons as I go. And this will hopefully show you that you need to take time to think about it. The ideas won't be there straight away. They're not there for me straight away. I might use the word shadows if I feel like it. I might use the word silent if I'm describing how loud the place is or not. So they're just a few words. I only need to do a few. What can you hear? So, I want this place to seem the ultimate level of creepiness. And I want to put this in a sentence. So, I could put something like, the room was as silent as the grave. Now, that's a common saying. Feel free to steal it. What else could I put? It was as if the world around him had frozen. Nothing seemed to be moving. And nothing made a sound. There you go. That's another sentence you could use. Please feel free. They're there for a reason. What can you see? Well, that's going to be dependent on your room, I'm afraid. So you're going to have to think about that. What would you see in your room? Whatever your room is, what would you expect to see there? But what I would suggest you think about is what state is it in. So is the furniture or are the pieces of furniture overturned? Is the room in a state of disarray? That means it's all a bit all over the place. It's not where it should be. If I could spell that right, that'd be great. Okay, so overturned, disarray, what else could the room be described in? Maybe derelict is another word. We looked at that word before. It means sort of old, not in the best condition. Yeah, I can't really give you much more on that because it's going to be dependent on what you would find in your setting. But these are some of the words you could use to describe those things. Okay, so how does the room affect your character? Well, I would say that the temperature, so something like chill ran down his spine, something like that. He took a sharp breath. Obviously, your character might be a she, I'm just picking one. Something like that, just a short sentence that's saying, at the moment they walk into the room, sharp breath, oh, shiver ran down my spine, something like that. What can you smell? A good one for this that links to rooms that are a little bit abandoned is normally you can smell damp. So let's turn that into a sentence. So the smell of damp hung in the air. Something like that. Okay. There was a strange smell coming from one side of the room. We don't say what that smell is, just that it's something a bit strange. Okay, so there's some ideas for you that you could possibly use. So now it is your turn. So you need to write the part now where your character enters the room where the climax is going to happen and you describe it. 3 to 4 sentences. Focus on what they see, what they hear, what they smell, and what it makes them do. Sharp breath, shiver down their spine, etc. Off you go. And you're back with me, hopefully. Okay. Tension is building. We've described the room. The tension's going to build. Something strange is going to happen. Normally, this is going to be the tap, 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 or the click, 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 or the drip, 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 or whatever else I can rhyme with those words. Something's going to happen. It's going to happen once. And then your character's going to get a bit nervous. Then it's going to happen again. And your character's going to get really scared. But are you going to say, for example, let me imagine this. Drip, drip, drip. He was really scared. No, he was really nervous. Tap, tap, tap. He was really scared. Is that going to have that suspense that you want? No. Do we ever tell the reader how they are feeling? No, you're all saying at the computer screen. Of course we don't, Mr. Kent. What do we do instead? We use something called show not tell, hopefully, is what you've just said. Show not tell. We're going to show that they are nervous. And then we're going to show that they are scared. Because you are Year 6 writers, you are good writers. You don't need to say, he was scared. He was nervous. That is boring. You get the point. I hope. I mean, this is really weird because I'm just talking to myself. I get the point because I'm the one saying it. But I've done too many of these videos. I'm just waffling on at this point. No, you shouldn't be agreeing. Maybe you are. Who knows? I think I'm a bit delirious today. Right, so we're going to plan now how you're going to show that your character is scared. So what could your character do that shows that they are scared? What sort of actions might they do? Well, let's have a think of some together. I say together. Let me think of some to the imaginary computer screen. Right, what could they do? So to show they're scared, the character could back away. They could have their heart rate could increase. What else could they do? They could clench their fists. Doesn't mean they're angry. Sometimes you clench your fists when you're a bit nervous. You could feel cramps in their stomach. That's sometimes what happens when you're nervous. Now, when you're really scared, so that's when you're feeling nervous, which is what your character's going to be feeling after the first time of it happening. When they're really scared, what could we have then? Well, when they're really scared, you might try and run away. You might freeze. Sometimes when you're scared, you freeze on the spot. Eyebrows raise. Eyes widen. Cold shivers spread throughout the body. For example. So those are some of the things you could do. If you can think of anything else they might do when they're scared, feel free to put it in instead. So, next part. And we are pretty much there now. This is your paragraph where the noises or whatever's happening quickens and your character is scared. Now, it's really important you follow the structure to make this effective. The thing happens once. You show that your character is nervous. That's what you're going to do first. Then the thing happens again, and you show your character is really scared. And the key is, you show they're nervous, and you say different things that show they're really scared. So when they're nervous, they might just clench their fists a bit, or feel tense. When they're scared, that's when they freeze. That's when they try to run away. That's when their heart pounds. Something like that. Off you go. Okay. And the final part. Quite sad we're here, really. Final part. We're at the climax. The last part of the story. So what are you going to do? Well, you need to reveal your character. The evil character. Whoever that might be. Or whatever that might be. Are you going to describe them in lots of detail? Absolutely not. 2 to 3 sentences maximum. Otherwise you are going to ruin the pace. Then your evil character is going to do something. And I really can't tell you what that is because it's completely dependent on your story. However, as I've said before, don't make it violent. This is not a horror story. It's not because I don't want you to, it's not because I think, oh, you're too young to be writing that. No, it's because it will ruin the effect of a suspense story. A suspense story is not violent. It's weird. It's menacing. It's a bit creepy, but it's not violent. So don't make yours, otherwise you'll ruin it right at the last moment, and that'll be really sad. So keep with that. All right. So what you're going to do then? You're going to write the final plate of story, reveal your evil character, whoever that might be, or whatever it might be, and then have them do something to your main character, but leave it on a cliffhanger. Don't actually reveal what happens to your character. So if in your mind your character dies, don't tell us that. Leave us thinking it. So maybe stop your story just before it happens. Otherwise, the suspense is gone. We know what happens. A lot of you ask me for chapter 2 because you want to know what happens, and that's what a good suspense story should do. When you finish reading it, you should want there to be another part to it. Off you go. Okay, I would just like to say thank you so much for your work in this unit. We've been at this now for 4 weeks. Suspense stories. The work you've produced has been absolutely fantastic, especially from a distance. I'm really enjoying seeing it, and I look forward to seeing you bringing it in. From tomorrow, we're going to move on to something completely different, and we're going to move away, and then next week we'll be doing sort of some standalone lessons so we can prepare ready for when you come back. For now, thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you. Oh, and please have a go at the foundation subject lesson today. It's on computing on the Oak Academy. I'll post the link as I normally do. It's to do with Scratch and coding, and you can do it at home. I've checked it out. If you have trouble with it, it's not the end of the world, but give it a go. It's quite fun. Thank you very much. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.